What are some of the darker effects COVID-19 has had that we don't talk about?
This is gonna be an AP history question in 20 years.
People who were furloughed had time to realize they hate their job. I can only speak in service industry, but it feels like a soul-crushing job more than ever. I used to love bartending, and now I feel trapped by it. Everyone I talk to seems to feel the same. The money doesn't seem worth it anymore. Guests are worse and more entitled than ever, and staff shortages have made shifts harder and longer. It has left me with a sense of hopelessness, as it's the only career I've known, but I cannot imagine a future continuing to do it.
The work environment has been rather toxic. I work in a company where some people have the option to stay home while others don't, and it has caused some resentment between departments.
I am a therapist working in bereavement and attached to a local hospice. The past 18 months have been brutal. The amount of trauma and instances of stalled or complicated grief responses I have seen have definitely increased. Not being able to mourn the death of a loved one properly, not being able to be with them as they die, not being able to visit them, not being able to hold proper funerals, not being able to hug each other or sit near each other when saying goodbye. These things are massively increasing the difficulties in people being able to process their loss and grief, even when the person has not died of COVID-19. We rely on these rituals, these mourning processes, these avenues of community support, to help us come to terms with and cope with loss.
So many of these comforts have been denied to people, both to those dying and those who are being left behind. It has been a grueling and incredibly depressing 18 months in this field, and I believe that we are going to see a huge amount of unresolved trauma and complicated grief over the next few years. Edit, grammar.
A skyrocket in domestic abuse as families are forced inside with one another, coupled with financial issues, or just people being stuck with abusive partners with nowhere to go.
My brother who works for DSS said during the pandemic child abuse reports plummeted. Which likely means unfortunately that rather than there being less abuse, there are less chances for people like teachers having a chance to catch and report the signs.
How much hearing impaired people were affected? My mother, who wears hearing aids, also depends on reading lips, especially in louder, busier areas. Hearing aids can have trouble sorting through complex noise situations. You can imagine what happened when everyone covered their mouths. Now she's more isolated than ever. Since then, I've ran into a co-worker who is also hearing impaired but doesn't want to return to office because while she can read lips on Zoom, she won't be able to if we mask up in person. They were an invisible casualty of this pandemic.
For me, it's been far too easy to isolate. I literally do not have to go outside of my house except to take out trash. Everything is deliverable. A local laundromat even started cashing in on the craze briefly by picking up dirty laundry at customers' homes and delivering it clean. My depression and social anxiety have absolutely flourished. Parts are harder to come by, and everything is more expensive. Less cancer and other serious diseases diagnosed and treated. Less needed surgeries performed because of the hospital staff being reassigned to COVID wards. Less referrals written to not overwhelm specialists. In-person health services becoming harder to reach. So less conditions like skin cancer diagnosed. The health of all of us suffers. Not only those affected by COVID. There's going to be a rise in drug and alcohol addiction coming out of this. Guarantee. Supply chain shortages. It's contributing to skyrocketing cost of living everywhere. Every time things shut down, it only gets worse. Dog rescues facing increased pressure as people start to return to work and find their dogs have horrendous separation anxiety due to lack of correct training. Well, everyone else has mentioned mental health, but what I think is worth pointing out, COVID massively accentuated political and social divisions within Western countries. More division between families because of opinions, beliefs on how to deal with COVID. We were watching The Office the other day and my 4-year-old asked why they were not wearing masks. We had to remind him that life used to be different. I can only imagine what is going through our children's heads. The guy that founded Texas Roadhouse killed himself due to extreme tinnitus brought on by COVID-19. https www.npr.org/sections/coronavirus-live-updates/2021/03/2022/97999295992/texas-roadhouse-kent-ta. YLOR dies after struggle with post-COVID-19 symptoms. Being single became crushingly lonely, especially if you were already looking for someone. Old folks getting cut off from their kids and social interactions. I think a lot of them are suffering in silence. Edit. If you haven't spoken to your parents or grandparents in a while, give them a call. My memory is trashed. I clicked on a movie in our recent downloads and said, "You wanna watch this?" Single quote. My hubby was freaked because apparently we had watched this 2 days prior. He went through it with me scene by scene, but I have no memory of it. I now frequently forget the door code in work. My mom is really going through some stress right now and I speak to her daily. Sometimes I forget the people she's talking about, entire conversations, and I feel like an awful daughter. Never had a memory issue before. This isn't on purpose. It's only happened since I had COVID, from which I was very ill for about a month, despite being 29 at the time. Now 30. But my doctor's response is that nothing can be done because no one is researching the long-term memory effects yet. So I am just in limbo. Managers give me jobs to do in work and before I finish one I forget the other thing and everyone thinks I am an idiot. Having COVID fog isn't a legit thing yet, so most people just think I am an idiot. I have 2 degrees and I now struggle in a mediocre job. Lost my previous job, where I had responsibility to the pandemic. It sucks.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.